Okay, so where are we in the quest today?
We're digging into round 2, specifically group 5. And this is where it gets really tough because remember, every album here has already won its round 1 group.
Right, so these are survivors already. They've each beaten 3 other albums to get this far.
Precisely. But now, 2 more have to go. Only the top 2 from this group of 4 make it to round 3.
And looking at this group, wow, the mix of styles is pretty wild. It really shows that random grouping in action.
Oh, absolutely. We've got heavy metal, classic rock reunion, iconic 80s stadium rock, and a massive career-spanning compilation. It forces comparisons you'd probably never make otherwise.
So who are the contenders in round 2, group 5?
All right, here they are. First, from Iron Maiden, it's Dance of Death.
Okay, relatively recent Maiden for this quest.
Yep. Then we have Walk on Water by UFO.
The big reunion album, right?
That's the one. Third is U2's The Unforgettable Fire.
An absolute classic from the 80s.
Indeed. And fourth, rounding out the group, is the definitive Rod Stewart.
A compilation. That throws a spanner in the works, doesn't it? How do you even compare a best of to a studio album in this format?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's the core tension here. Does a focused artistic statement stand up against, decades of curated hits?
It's going to be fascinating to see how the author tackled that.
The methodology forces the issue. They're treated as equals, fighting for those top 2 spots.
Okay, let's unpack this and see which 2 albums proceed in the quest. But before we get to the final ranking for this group, maybe we should quickly remind ourselves how these 4 albums even got here. It adds context, right? Shows they're worthy contenders.
Good idea. Yeah, understanding their round 1 victories really sets the stage. These aren't just random picks. They've already proven something.
So let's start with UFO, Walk on Water. Where did that one come from?
Okay, so Walk on Water qualified from round 1, group 3, and it had some serious competition there.
Oh, yeah. Who'd they beat?
It knocked out Foreigner's Mr. Moonlight,
Yeah.
the Transformers soundtrack from '87.
Huh. Seriously. The movie soundtrack.
Yep, that's the randomness for you. And importantly, it also beat Long Live Rock and Roll by Rainbow.
Wow, beating a Rainbow album is no small feat. That really says something about Walk on Water's immediate impact, especially for a reunion record.
Exactly. It showed the reunion wasn't just nostalgic. It had real power right out of the gate.
Okay, what about Rod Stewart, the definitive Rod Stewart?
That one qualified much later from round 1, group 157.
Yeah.
And its group was just incredibly diverse, genre-wise.
Let me guess. More randomness.
You got it. Rod beat once more with Feeling by Placebo.
Okay. 90s alt-rock.
The self-titled Razorlight album.
Indie rock, okay.
And Boys for Pele by Tori Amos.
Whoa! Placebo, Razorlight, Tori Amos. That's a real mix. So the compilation's broad appeal and, I guess, sheer hit power won out against some pretty distinct artistic visions.
That's exactly what the author seemed to conclude. The undeniable quality, track after track, just overcame the more focused, perhaps challenging studio albums in that particular grouping. Shows that they hit hard in this format.
Fair enough. Now the metal giants. Iron Maiden, Dance of Death.
Maiden won round 1, group 36. And here's where it gets interesting, especially for this round 2 group.
How so?
Well, one of the albums Maiden beat in round 1 was another UFO album, Mechanics.
No way. So Maiden already knocked out UFO once?
Yep. They also beat The Invisible Band by Travis and Both Sides by Phil Collins in that group. But the fact they beat Mechanics only to face Walk on Water now, it sets up this almost intra-band rivalry given the influence UFO had on Maiden.
That's a great bit of context, adds a layer to this group. Okay, finally, U2, The Unforgettable Fire.
They qualified from round 1, group 25. And again, a real mixed bag of opponents.
Who did they face?
They beat Turn Back the Clock by Johnny Hates Jazz,
80s pop,
the self-titled Anastasia album,
power vocal pop,
and the Princess Bride soundtrack by Mark Knopfler.
Knopfler's soundtrack. Wow. Okay, so U2's unique atmospheric 80s sound was strong enough to overcome smooth pop, powerful vocals, and cinematic instrumental work.
Right. The distinctiveness and, the quality of The Unforgettable Fire clearly resonated strongly enough in its first round.
Okay, so we've established these are all winners in their own right, battle-hardened survivors of round 1, but the axe must fall on 2 of them here in round 2, group 5. Let's get into the author's ranking. Who struggled? Who ended up in 4th and 3rd place?
All right, so coming in at 4th place, and therefore eliminated from the album quest, was U2's The Unforgettable Fire.
Wow. Okay, that is a shock. I mean, that's a landmark album for many people. To see it finish last in this group, it really shows how tough this quest is.
It absolutely does. And the critique wasn't that it's a bad album, far from it. The author acknowledged its strengths pretty heavily.
Like what? What did they praise?
Well, It's innovation, mainly. For 1984, it was seen as radical. The production by Eno and Lanois was highlighted, and the sound quality itself was described as an audiophile's wet dream.
Yeah, it does sound incredible. Very atmospheric. And the core songs are undeniable, surely.
Oh, definitely. The also points to that amazing spine of the album. Pride, in the name of love, obviously. Wire, the title track, the Unforgettable Fire, the live Monster Bad, and Indian Summer Sky. That run of tracks is phenomenal.
Showcasing the rhythm section, Mullen and Clayton, and The Edge doing his amazing, textured guitar thing.
Exactly. That part of the album is almost untouchable. But, and here's the criticism that landed it in fourth place, the album apparently falters on the other side.
You meaning the second half or the less immediate tracks?
Yeah, the slower, more ambient, experimental stuff. The critique is that those tracks disrupt the flow too much in a back-to-back listening context.
Was there one track singled out?
Yes. The 6-minute Elvis Presley and America. The author specifically cited that one as dragging the album's feet, basically killing the momentum built up by the bigger songs.
6 minutes is a long time to lose momentum in this kind of ranking, I suppose, if a track doesn't connect immediately.
That seems to be the issue here. In the album quest format, where you're judging based on that continuous listen, a long, potentially difficult track like that can apparently be fatal, even if it's artistically interesting. The author felt it made the album feel uneven compared to the others.
But isn't that part of the album's identity? The experimental side? It feels a bit harsh to penalize it so heavily for one track, especially when the rest is so strong.
It's a fair point, but it seems the quest methodology prioritizes consistent execution over artistic intent, maybe. If the experiment doesn't land perfectly in that listening session, it counts against it.
So the flow is broken.
Apparently so. The author even posed this quite provocative question. If Pride hadn't been such a massive hit, would people even remember the rest of the album as fondly? Or would the experimental bits have put more people off?
Ouch, that is harsh, suggesting it leans too heavily on that one single.
It definitely implies that the hit single was doing a lot of heavy lifting to compensate for the less immediate tracks. So, ultimately, despite its brilliance and innovation, the perceived inconsistency and that one specific track meant U2 finished fourth, eliminated.
Okay, so U2 out. Who finished third, just missing out on advancing?
Finishing in third place, also eliminated, was Iron Maiden's Dance of Death.
Ah, Maiden. So they didn't make it through either. What was the issue here? Was it inconsistency again?
Sort of, yeah, but framed differently.
Yeah.
Here, the main problem seemed to be falling short of expectations. Very high expectations.
Right, because this came after Brave New World, didn't it? The big reunion album with Bruce Dickinson and Adrian Smith back.
Exactly. Brave New World in 2000 was seen as this, utterly brilliant comeback. Fans and critics were expecting Dance of Death in 2003 to be another instant classic, cementing that lineup's power.
And it wasn't, according to the author.
According to the author, it didn't quite reach that level. The main criticism was that it's a little inconsistent, especially as you get to the second half.
That phrase again. Inconsistency.
Yep. It prevented the album from hitting that masterpiece status. The author called it, maybe a bit brutally, a mid-tier Maiden album.
Okay, mid-tier Maiden is still probably better than most bands' best, but compared to their own legacy, what does that mean in practice? Less memorable riffs, weaker songs?
Probably a bit of both. It means it has those moments of absolute Maiden brilliance, things only they can do, but they're mixed in with tracks that maybe feel a bit like filler or don't quite hit the same heights. The overall quality isn't sustained throughout the whole record, especially compared to their legendary 80s run or even Brave New World.
But there weren't highlights mentioned, right? Even mid-tier Maiden usually delivers some gems.
Oh, absolutely. The author definitely pointed out some fantastic moments. The title track, Dance of Death, was praised for being really innovative, described as a kind of heavy metal jig.
A jig. Okay, that sounds unique.
It is. And it has that slightly odd lyric Bruce sings, I danced and I pranced. Very Maiden.
Okay, what else stood out?
No More Lies got to mention. That's a big 7-minute track, and it really showcases the three guitarists. It features 3 distinct guitar solos.
3 solos. That's showing off the firepower.
Definitely. And then there were tracks like Rainmaker, Wildest Dreams, and Face in the Sand, noted as just really solid, driving, top-class metal, the kind of thing they do so well.
And what about Passchendaele? The big World War I epic that's often cited as a highlight from this album.
It was mentioned, yeah, and with an interesting take, the author noted it can sound a bit cluttered and untidy in places.
Which sounds like a criticism.
They authors speculated that maybe that was intentional, that the kind of sonic chaos was meant to reflect the confusion and horror of the battle itself.
Ah, using the music to tell the story. That sounds very Maiden.
Exactly. And it was also noted as being significant in their catalog, sort of paving the way for their later full-on concept album about war, A Matter of Life or Death.
Okay, so lots of strong points. But again, it comes back to consistency. What were the tracks that supposedly dragged it down?
The author cited Journeyman, the acoustic track New Frontier, and the more political one, Age of Innocence, as being the weaker links, the tracks that fell short.
So those tracks appearing, especially later in the album, just took the edge off the overall experience in that back-to-back listen.
That seems to be the verdict. The brilliance of tracks like Passchendaele or Dance of Death wasn't enough to overcome the moments where the quality dipped. The inconsistency meant it couldn't beat the top two, so Maiden finished third. Out.
Here's where it gets really interesting. So, inconsistency knocked out both U2 and Maiden. But the album that came in second wasn't a studio album at all. It was the Rod Stewart compilation. How did that beat Maiden?
Right, it's quite the opposite if you think in traditional genre terms. The definitive Rod Stewart landed in second place, advancing to round 3, specifically ranked higher than Dance of Death.
So the compilation trumps the modern metal album. Why? What made the compilation work so well in this format?
Well, its strength is its format, in a way. It's not trying to be a single artistic statement. It's a collection of proven winners, mostly arranged chronologically.
Decades of hits packed together.
Exactly. It starts way back with Maggie May and goes right through his career, ending with tracks like Two Shades of Blue. It's a long listen, about 2.5 hours. But the key thing is, there's basically zero fat. Every track is there because it was, a hit or a well-loved album track.
So no weak links like the ones that supposedly hurt Maiden and U2?
Precisely. And the author highlighted the sequencing. It starts strong with the 70s stuff like First Cut is Deepest and Hot Legs, but then, critically, the second disc, focusing on the 80s and beyond, apparently goes up a gear.
Ah, so it builds momentum, unlike the others that faltered.
That seems to be the key difference. As you listen through Rod's compilation, the hits arguably get more polished, more universally appealing, perhaps. You hit that run of Baby Jane, Some Guys Have All the Luck, Downtown Train, Rhythm of My Heart.
Yeah, those are massive, undeniable songs. Very hard to dislike in a direct comparison, I imagine.
That's the power of a well-curated compilation in this quest. Plus, the author mentioned the inclusion of 2 really strong acoustic tracks, Have I Told You Lately, and Handbags and Glad Rags, adding a bit of extra texture.
So the verdict was just supreme quality, consistently delivered.
Pretty much. The author called it a supreme collection. The sheer density of high-quality, well-known songs, presented in a way that built momentum over its runtime, was enough to give it the edge over Maiden's more uneven, though ambitious, studio album.
It really highlights how this back-to-back listening method favors that sustained enjoyment factor. Consistency, even if it's compiled from different eras, wins out over a flawed single statement.
That's the lesson from this particular battle, definitely.
Okay, so Rod Stewart advances in second place. That means the winner, advancing in first place, must be UFO's Walk on Water.
Correct. Walk on Water takes the top spot in round 2, group 5.
The reunion album wins. That's fascinating, especially considering how often reunions can be, well, disappointing. What made this one so special, according to the author?
Yeah, you're right. There's often skepticism. But the author was incredibly enthusiastic about this one, described it as astoundingly good.
High praise indeed. What was so good about it? Did it recapture the old magic?
It seemed to do more than that. The critique suggests it wasn't just nostalgic, but actually stood shoulder to shoulder with, or even surpassed, their classic 70s and 80s output in terms of immediate impact.
Wow. Surpassed the classics. That's a huge statement.
It is. The author described the sound as heavy, polished, and tight. It apparently took the core UFO strengths, Phil Mogg's fantastic vocals, Michael Schenker's iconic guitar, and gave them a modern, powerful production that just worked incredibly well.
Any specific tracks highlighted as examples of this?
Yeah, the opener, A Self-Made Man, was mentioned as kicking things off powerfully, followed by strong tracks like Venus and Stop by a Bullet. It sounds like the album just delivered that high-energy, quality, heavy rock right from the start and kept it going.
So it just hit harder and more consistently than the others, even the Rod Stewart compilation?
That seems to be it. It had the focus of a studio album, but unlike Maiden or U2, it apparently didn't suffer from those inconsistent patches. It delivered the goods throughout.
No album is perfect, right? Especially in this detailed critique. Did the author find any weaknesses in Walk on Water? The source mentioned elephants in the room.
Yes. Even the winner faced some scrutiny. Two main points were raised, though neither was enough to knock it off the top spot.
Okay, what were they?
First was material lightness. The album includes new recordings of two of their absolute biggest classic songs, Doctor and Lights Out.
Ah, re-recordings of old hits on a new album. Right.
And while the author said these new versions were great, their inclusion suggested that maybe, just maybe, there wasn't quite enough new top-tier material to fill a whole album. It made the album feel potentially a little light on material.
Okay, that makes sense. What was the second point?
The second point was about Michael Schenker's guitar playing. The internal debate with virtuosos, right?
Let me guess. Too many notes. Overplaying.
Kind of. The author acknowledged Schenker is a genius and is earned the right to, let rip. But they did pose the question, was it maybe too much here? Did the sheer volume of soloing detract slightly from the songs themselves in places?
A fine line between brilliance and indulgence.
Exactly. But crucially, the author immediately tempered this criticism by noting that Schenker did show restraint on the album's ballad, Dreaming of Summer.
Ah, so he could dial it back when needed. It wasn't just solos wall to wall.
Right. It showed there was still attention to song structure and dynamics, which kind of mitigated the potential overplaying issue.
So even with those two potential criticisms, the re-recorded hits and the flashy solos, the overall quality just shone through.
That was the final assessment. The sheer power and polish of the new songs, the energy of the reunited band playing so well together, it just overwhelmed everything else. The author's conclusion was pretty clear. This album still walks on water while the others here sink.
Wow. So the reunion album wasn't just good, it was exceptional enough to beat out a stone-cold U2 classic, a modern Maiden effort, and a killer Rod Stewart compilation.
In this specific back-to-back comparison, yes. It delivered the most consistent, high-impact listen, according to the author.
So what does this all mean? Let's wrap this up. Can you give us the final official standings for Round 2, Group 5?
Absolutely. Here's how it shook out in the album quest. In fourth place, and eliminated, we have the Unforgettable Fire by U2. The invention was there, but structural issues and those slower tracks proved fatal in this format.
Okay.
In third place, also eliminated, Iron Maiden's Dance of Death. Couldn't quite live up to the huge expectations, and that inconsistency, especially in the second half, cost it dearly.
Right, mid-tier wasn't enough.
In second place, and advancing to round 3, is the definitive Rod Stewart. The supreme compilation format, packed with hits and no filler, proves strong enough to beat out Maiden. Consistency rewarded.
The compilation survives.
And taking first place, also advancing to round 3, is UFO's Walk on Water. Just an astoundingly good reunion album that delivered heavy, polished, tight rock, overcoming minor criticisms to win the group.
Incredible. And the irony, as you pointed out earlier, Iron Maiden, hugely influenced by UFO, gets beaten by a UFO reunion album, and they both lose out, ultimately, with Maiden being beaten by Rod Stewart, too.
It really throws conventional rock hierarchies out the window, doesn't it? The key takeaway here seems crystal clear, within the rules of the album quest, that immediate, sustained quality and consistency are paramount. UFO and Rod Stewart delivered that in different ways.
Whereas Maiden's inconsistency and U2's structural choices, despite their high points or artistic merit, just didn't hold up in that intense back-to-back listen.
Exactly. High ambition that falters or experiments that disrupt flow seem to be punished quite harshly in this quest. Polished execution and sustained quality win the day, at least in this group.
Fascinating stuff. Two very different albums, Walk on Water and the definitive Rod Stewart, move on to round 3. Thanks for guiding us through that particular rock and roll battle.
My pleasure.